the San Andreas fault?
It's not my fault.
It's not my fault.
Right. So, what do you think the motivation is for people who are coming into your cycling class? And again, they're in their, 35 on up kind of people. You see all sorts of walks of life of people that come in.
Absolutely,
so,
yeah.
You have the people who've been athletic their whole life. Mm-hmm. And then you have the people who have never exercised a day in their life that comes in. So let's take the person they're fresh from coming into a cycling class. What kind of things do you find out about them, or what kind of what's their motivation, and how do you keep them interested in cycling? Because it's hard. When you start cycling, class or even worse on the street.
Yeah. Daunting out there.
It hurts.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Well, I'm a big believer in moderation, Paul. I mean, I am not an outstanding athlete by any means, but there's something to be said for consistency. Like, I'm never going to be the fastest guy or the strongest, but I plug away. And I tell folks coming into class, I find out, I said, have you biked before? Do you have a bike? It's not necessary that you have a bike. And they look in the mirror and they don't like how they look, or they had a visit to the doctor who said, it's time for you to do something, or it could be a family member or friend that they were inspired by, or maybe someone close to them passed away. We know of high school friends that I went to 2 high schools, and not to be morbid, but there's at least 40 people that I graduated. I went to 2 large high schools that have passed away. I don't know all the circumstances, but I think people get to a point and say, I've been taking care of other things, but I haven't taken care of me. And so my job as an instructor is I help them take care of them. And when they come in, and it's daunting for anybody to go to a new experience. And the important thing is I just try to work with them on a bike fit. And tell them don't overdo it. And we have computers on the bikes, and I said just a little bit more each time. That's it. I don't like instructors that yell at people. I'm not like that. I don't teach like that. I want people to come back, and for them, they don't want to be too intimidating. And I just encourage them, just keep waking up, keep coming to class. I teach some evening classes too. I said the thing is just get here, and then. The endorphins kick in after about 3 weeks, and they start feeling comfortable, and they can start adding a gear to add more resistance. They find their heart rate can sustain a little bit longer and not be as high, not be so high. And I said, so after about 3 weeks, you start to feel the difference. That's just the routine of doing it. And part of my other not so secret trick is my joke is I play a lot of top 40 music, but it's from about 30 or 40 years ago. So people of our demographic, and I have people, I've had teenagers up to people in their 80s take my class, and they could all be in the same class. But for the young people, I said, well, this is music education for you. but the folks that mostly they're
musicology.
I'm kidding. But there's 40s, 50s, 60s. Age group, they recognize the music, and for me to help people feel comfortable, I'm not talking a whole lot during class. I'm telling them what we're going to do. I try to simulate the feel of a road ride. I spend a lot of time on choreography of the music, so the beat simulates what we would be doing outside, and I kind of visualize, all right, we're accelerating, we're going over rolling hills, we're climbing, we're doing a 12-minute hill, slower paced beat to match the slower climbing rhythm. So it's really, and the other aspect of the class is then the social aspect takes over. When you start meeting people in class, and then it's like, people give you, hey, where were you last Tuesday? Why don't you show up? So they get that pressure. But there's a community at the clubs where you look forward to meeting your friends, and the workout is almost, I don't want to say secondary, but it's like, oh, I'm going to go, see so-and-so and do my class. And I chat with people before and after class. I ride with some of them outside of class. So it's a very social.
Once you start into this bike community stuff, it seems like every guy I've ever seen on a bike outside, they think it's the Tour de France, and they're just going all out.
The data-driven athlete.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The challenge is, one of the challenges is how to, back people down from having this mentality that they have to hit it so hard. I mean,
Yeah.
and how do you do that with people? How do you help train them just to back off?
As I said, I'm a big believer in moderation, and it's, to me, it's just about the longevity. I have folks that take my classes that do some monster road rides on the weekend, and they may come in just to loosen up their legs. Amazingly, they'd come. I literally have folks that do 175-mile bike rides that take my class, and they would come in just to spin out the legs. I said, if you did anything intensive this weekend and you need to take it easy, I'm guiding you through class, but you're setting the resistance and the pace. No matter what instructor says, if you're not feeling it, if you need to, there's a point to challenge yourself, but there's also a point where you have to recognize your body and to back off. And part of that, there are metrics available. We talk about the data-driven athlete. There's all these tools out now that didn't exist 30 years ago. We've got Strava, we've got computers on the bikes, on our road bikes, and we've got all the new indoor bikes, whichever brand, they have computer consoles that show watts and RPMs and how many calories you're burning and how many miles you're going during class. So you can use that if you're just going by the data, you can use that to motivate you. However, you can also use that to moderate, which I encourage as well. It's like, don't try to ride 25 miles during class. Do a 20-mile ride. Keep your heart rate down. Do a recovery, if you did something strenuous or you just need recovery. But that's just the nature of our society. We have all these tools available to us, and I'm a Strava addict. I've been using Strava for years and years, and they say if it's not on Strava, the ride didn't happen.
It doesn't count.
I manually enter the miles onto Strava after every class I teach, and I was like, I did 4,000 or 5,000 miles of indoor cycling in a year. That's just how I log it. But I have friends who are very intense. It's like, I have friends that ride 20,000 miles a year on their road bike, or a friend who works out every afternoon. He's like, she did 12,000 miles in a year.
Wow.
And you got to be riding like 40 miles a day, and he handles it great. He's never injured, he's never sick. But for the recreational cyclist, you can get all the benefits, and you don't have to train like that. It is time consuming. There is a safety factor of riding on these roads. We have the most beautiful area of the country to ride, but you still have to ride smart and ride safe. And the real thing is, and I think we've all learned during the pandemic, is we had restrictions how far we could go. You can just get out and walk, is good for you as well. Go on a 3-mile walk. And you're getting benefit from that. And probably
absolutely.
A lot more than people recognize. You don't have to run. Just get out and doing movement, or hiking, walking. So keeps people going. Or?
No. Actually, what I want to talk about was let's talk about heart rate and some of the issues that go on with this. Like when we talk about metric-driven exercise, right? What I find is that, like, for me, like, I try to push it a lot to the point where, like, my legs are like totally dead. And I go too hard, and I recognize that it's beyond what should be, and I had to tone it down, and I recognize that. And so sometimes, like on the bike, what I'll do is I'll set up, like, okay, I'm going to stay within this amount of watts because my bike has a little computer on it, so I can do that. Or I'll say, I'm going to stay in this RPM mode. So I kind of play with it back and forth. I do wear a watch, that monitors the heart rate. So I can use that as some variability as well. So I kind of go back and forth with that type of strategy. Before you start, like, pushing into these threshold, then into the anaerobic, and then into the neuromuscular sections and stuff. You need a base, right? So I'm going to give you an example. When I had my wife and we went to go walking.
Yeah.
And I told her, look, we're going to do the keep it simple method. I said, you have an Apple Watch, right? I got her. And I said, look, keep your heart rate, around 106 beats per minute, right?
Yeah.
So we're walking along, and she's, pushing like 130, something like this, right? And I'm saying, honey, it's too much, right? Because she's trying to get back into some condition.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you need to back it down. No, I'm fine. So by the time we walked back to the house, and it was just around 2 miles, she blew up, So she was like, oh my God, I'm like, this is too much. And I said, yeah, because you're going too far. And that's kind of to your point about the person that's in front of you.
Yeah.
To not blow them out.
Yeah. And we've all done that. And I do that. I mean, I go on rides with folks that are, younger and faster and stronger than I do. And we ride out in these areas. Went out to the coast yesterday with some guys, and they ended up leaving me behind, but towards the end of the ride. But it's like, all right, but the bottom line for anybody is get your heart rate up for a little bit. You're going to burn some calories. And really I don't want to say that's all that matters, but that's the purpose of exercise.
Yeah.
We're working on our cardiovascular fitness, on working on our respiration, of just getting fit. And if you're doing activity, you're going to get your heart rate up. You're going to burn calories, and there's a whole other factor of scientifically calories in versus value. And I'm not qualified. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a trainer.
Right.
But it's just common sense. You can't be working out and then going for the large coffee with all the sugar and the whipped cream after the workout. You're kind of, you can do that, but and I get it, and I'm a caffeine addict, but when you add all the other stuff, it kind of negates the purpose of the workout. You're piling those junk calories back in. I eat chips and burgers and fries, not every day. I eat healthier than I used to, but that's dedication.
Sometimes I see people on the road, I was one morning, I'll tell you a story, it's kind of funny. I was going up this very steep hill by our house, and there's this, there's 4 or 5 guys who are they're like a little peloton, and they're going, and I end up catching them going up this hill. And now my bike is not a race bike, and my bike is really set up as the gearing is like a mountain bike.
Yeah.
So I end up passing them on the hill, but I know they're going to crush me going down. As soon as that hill starts to go down, I am dead meat.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what happened. I got so passed by those guys.
You interloper. Yeah.
Functional, like stupid competitive, beast, that you get. And then, but it's not something that we should really, I don't want to impart that to people who are running, who are just going out for the first time. And, it's like, it's hard because it's so intimidating, and you're going and you're riding up a hill and you're giving your all, and you've got, 2 or 3 miles an hour, and a guy in a walker is, passing you. And I think it's important for people to kind of understand that it's really just important to have fun and be out there and to enjoy the ride rather than trying to, be super competitive.
Yeah, you're going to get the benefit just from being out there. Many of us are naturally competitive. I'm not a type A person. Mm-hmm. I'm not super competitive. I don't go after segments on Strava to be the king of the
KOMs.
The KOM, yeah, it would drive me nuts. I have a couple friends I ride with that they do that. And that's their motivation to ride, and they're great, capable riders. It would drive me nuts because I just want to ride. I got enough pressure and worry about someone took my KOM. Not that I'm necessarily capable of achieving that. They're stronger riders than I am, but
there's always someone who's going to be stronger.
Yeah. And out here there's always there's people that there's all kind of organized rides here where people are riding 20 to 23 miles an hour on a 1-hour group ride, and it's it could be type A people, Silicon Valley, or ex-college athletes that still have a competitive aspect in them, and they get out and go nutty on their road bikes and sometimes do stupid stuff because we get competitive. So you got to take all that into consideration.